Today I'm turning my son's blank box of a bedroom into a DIY travel themed bedroom that can grow with him. So if you're looking for budget friendly boys bedroom ideas, you're going to love this video. Hey there, it's Carrie from Lovely Etc. and I love creating one of a kind spaces full of inexpensive DIY projects and fun thrifted finds, and this bedroom makeover fits that to a T. Here's what we're starting with. This is what my 12-year-old son's room looked like before, a big blank box. When we moved into this house, he got his own room for the first time since he was a baby, and he also got to move up from a twin bed to a queen bed. Big move. But since we didn't have an actual bed yet, he spent the first several months on a mattress on the floor. Along with that, there was a desk he never used, a dresser, and a closet full of wasted space. The big goals for this space: more functional storage, some color and personality, and an actual bed. And pretty much everything is going to be some sort of DIY or thrifted find because that's just how I like to do things. I'm just not the type of person to buy some furniture at IKEA and paint the walls and call it good. And let me tell you, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's way, way faster than my way of doing things. But I love to be creative and build things and upcycle things and figure out how to make things custom and beautiful for super cheap. And this room is going to be full of all of that. So the first thing I did was clear out everything that wasn't staying and paint the walls. I painted 3 of the walls with Sherwin-Williams Alabaster, which is a really great creamy color. And this fourth wall is going to be our focal point. So this is going to be an accent wall that I'm making using old maps. These are old road maps and city maps that I've gotten at estate sales for really cheap over the years. Maps are one of those things I cannot resist collecting, and I'm using them to create something of a map wallpaper in this room. I love how graphic and colorful the maps are, and also I just love thinking about the history and all the places that people used to actually use these maps to go to. Back before we had GPS and phones and all of those things, this is how people plan their vacations. And as somebody that loves a vacation, that really appeals to me. And luckily, it also really appeals to my son. He loves travel, and that's why this room is largely going to be a travel themed room. So once all the maps were up on the wall, the next step was finally making this kid a bed. This bed started with an old door that I found at the Habitat for Humanity Restore for only 20 bucks. It had a great shape, but it wasn't necessarily in the best condition. So I stripped off the old paint and gave it a bit of a paint wash for a new look, and then added some trim so that it looked more like a headboard and less like a random door stuck on the wall. I think doors make amazing headboards, and a lot of times you can get them for cheaper than you could get any other solid wood. And starting with a door just saves tons of work. So once the headboard was done, I needed a bed frame to go with it. And I decided to build my own bed frame. I've wanted to make a bed for a while. It seems like a pretty simple furniture project, and it was. Putting this bed frame together was really easy. I just used inexpensive wood, and I was able to use a similar paint wash to make the new bed frame made out of brand new wood match pretty perfectly with that old door that was definitely not made out of brand new wood. So it came together really well, and I do have printable build plans for this bed frame in my shop that I'll link in all different sizes. So once the bed was done, already it was like a whole new room. There was no more mattress on the floor, and things were already looking so much better. The next step was starting to tackle that functional storage piece of this whole thing. So this room has a pretty nice closet as far as size, but it was very basic and not really working very well for my son. There was one basic shelf and one hanging rod, and he had almost no hanging clothes, and so the majority of the space in the closet was massively wasted. So I took all that out and built a DIY closet organizer with lots of drawers and shelves and place to store all different types of things. And it still had plenty of room for hanging clothes as well. And I think this closet design is really going to work well for him now when he doesn't have all that many clothes, as well as he gets older and maybe one day he'll be a lot more into clothing, or one day he won't live here at all and somebody else will. I think this closet organizer is going to work for all different types of people in different stages of life, which is what I was hoping for. Next up, I started working on a nightstand that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I love the shape of this little nightstand, but it had some water damage on the top and it really just needed a bit of a makeover. So I fixed up the top, repaired the damage, and painted the whole thing with a really great shade of green. This is Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Kudzu, and it's just a nice bright color, but I still felt like it needed a little bit of pizzazz. So I decided to add some texture to the drawers to really make those star cutouts pop. And I surprisingly found the perfect thing to use for texture at the Dollar Tree. But once I'd added my texture, I updated the old hardware with liquid gold leaf, which is my favorite way to give a really beautiful shiny gold finish to hardware. And then that finished up the nightstand makeover. I love how this nightstand turned out. I think it looks beautiful. I love how it stands out against the map wallpaper and just has a bright little pop of color over in this corner. After adding lots of extra storage to the closet, I was able to rearrange the furniture a little bit to make the room work better. I took the desk out of the room. A desk seemed like a great idea when we moved in, but it turns out my son has never sat there and used the desk in the many months we've lived here, so it was really just a place for clutter to pile up. And I also took out the chest of drawers. It's a nice piece and we're going to use it somewhere else in our house, but he just doesn't need it now that he has drawers in his closet. Instead, I was able to get the old bookcase out of the closet and move it into the room. And this is a bookcase that my mom helped build many years ago, so it's definitely going to stay and we're going to use it as is. Once the bookcase was in place, I felt like we needed something else in the room, some other piece of furniture. And I remembered an old trunk that I had gotten years ago, handed down from a friend. And I figured it would be the perfect addition to this travel themed room. So this trunk is going to be sort of a bench. It's also going to act as kind of a floor desk because my son likes to sit in the floor and draw. So for now, this will be a great place to put papers, and in the future, it'll make some nice extra seating in the room. Plus, not to mention, obviously, there's tons of storage inside. I already love the way the trunk looked, but it needed a little bit of extra height to be useful. So I just added some simple hairpin legs to the bottom and cleaned it up, and it made the perfect bench. And then it was time for finishing touches. I hung some curtains that we already had on the windows, and then I gathered a bunch of art pieces to create a gallery wall. So my son and I looked through a bunch of things we already had and chose some things that he really wanted to put on the wall, and they all really just worked together well. So as I said before, my son really likes travel. As a family, we love going on road trips. We love national parks and hiking and just going on adventures outdoors, and that's really what this gallery wall is all about. So there are some framed photos from different places that we've been. There's a scratch off map that he uses to keep track of the national parks he's been to, as well as a felt banner that I made to hold all of his junior ranger badges. You can get junior ranger badges at national parks and national monuments when you complete certain activities. It's an amazing program for kids. So if you have kids and you're ever traveling, I definitely recommend checking it out. There's also a wooden sign that I made for his toddler room 10 years ago that I still think is perfect for him, and a cutout of the US that I made out of pallet wood years and years ago as well. And finally, we added a bunch of old globes to the top of the bookcase. Globes are another thing I always love to collect that he has always thought were super cool, so it seemed like the perfect addition. All right, time for the big reveal. Here's a reminder of what this room looked like before we started, and here's how it looks now. Now, I would call that an amazing transformation, and I definitely hit all the goals for this project. There's lots of color and personality now, tons of functional storage, and best of all, a real bed. I really love how this room turned out, and my son's really thrilled with it as well. It's just full of so many fun, colorful details that really show who he is and the things that he loves. And because almost everything in this room was either DIY or thrifted, this was a super budget friendly makeover. I'm pretty sure the only things I actually bought new for this room were the duvet cover and the lamp. If you want more details on any of the projects in this room, I created a playlist that you might want to check out that has the videos of all of the other projects in the room, including the nightstand, the map wall, the bed, everything. And if you haven't, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel, Lovely Etc., where I share inexpensive DIY ideas for creating a home that you love. Now, on to the next room, and I'll see you next time.